Thank you, everyone, for coming. Just want to extend a very warm welcome to all of you. We are so excited you're here. Thank you for being a customer. You are all just so important to us, and we're excited to get this started and spend some time together. Wonderful. So again, thank you everyone for coming. We are so excited that you are here to spend the next 30 minutes or so with us. We have a full lineup of our team here to walk you through and really dive a little bit deeper in some really exciting material. First and foremost, what I want to do is just let you know that if you could put your questions into the chat or the Q&A, and what we'll do at the end is we will address those questions. In the beginning, we're going to go through each section so that way we can provide you with some really interesting information that we think is going to be valuable for you. And then at the end, we'll have a few minutes left. And if you're able to stay on even longer, if you have some more questions, we're happy to be here for you. What we're going to cover today are 4 different key areas. One is on the safe, security, and risk lens acquisition. We're going to then talk about FAIR-CAM and FAIR-MAM. We're going to go a little bit deep into the roadmap, almost like a mini outline there. SB's got a really great group of slides for us for you to see where we're at, where we're headed, what the impact's going to be for you. And then Chad is going to talk with us about looking ahead. What are our next steps together? Where are we going to meet up in October? A little preview on that. And just to get started, in case you haven't met everyone on the call, here are our session speakers. We have Chris, who's our Chief Customer Officer, Jack, our Chief Research Scientist, Saket, who's also known as SB for all of us here, as our Chief Product Officer, and Chad, who is our VP of Risk Advisory. So we're really excited to bring all of you together with this group so that you can just dive in, learn a little bit more, get your questions answered, and then we'll go from there. So without further ado, Chris, let's start it off.
Yeah, thanks, Marnie. As Marnie said, my name is Chris Caden. I'm the Chief Customer Officer here at SAFE. I know I haven't met many of you, but definitely looking forward to meeting all of the current risk lens customers and also SAFE customers. We are really excited to be at this juncture as a company, but I want to step back for 1 second to go back to pre-acquisition. Ironically, both SAFE and risk lens were aligned on mission, vision, and strategy. And that was to become the best offering or platform for CRQM on the market. The positioning and trajectory of bringing that platform to market was different, right? Different starting points. So what the acquisition did for us was it created an inflection point where we stepped back and we said, what do we truly want to deliver to you guys who are the consumers of the boat platforms today? And that inflection point led us to, well, we want to build a product that everyone can utilize, build trust from, and it would become the next generation insanely great CRQM platform. And in order to do that, we wanted to take the best from both companies and both platforms. And from a risk lens standpoint, that is the methodology, right? Industry trusted. And FAIR Institute back. And then from a SAFE standpoint, this is the automated, AI-driven, threat intelligence-driven platform. So those two combined is what we're looking to build going forward for you guys. Now, from a benefit standpoint, if you move forward, Marnie. What that would essentially do, and what we want you guys to experience is, with that platform, you will have trust in the information and the data available to you in real time in an automated fashion, but collectively also deliver to you the security and risk expertise that Jack will go through in terms of the data science effort and the methodology extensions that we're going to be bringing to market. But all that said, it sounds very complex, right? There's a lot that goes into building a fairly robust platform like this. We also want to make sure that the experience is simple and easy for users to consume. And SB will cover some of the usability aspects that we're looking at that will help us facilitate that objective. Next slide. This simplicity will come to life in a fashion where we want you to utilize SAFE going forward to ask questions, right? And as simple as you would be able to ask a question, you would get a response. Now, we thought about how best to organize this in a fashion that would allow you to consume it in a simple way. So we came up with this approach, which as we work with you guys, would love to get your feedback as you start to consume this. It would follow three simple tenets, right? Visibility into risk anywhere within your environment, treatment, which would focus on what actions you could take or what roadmap you could build to remediate or mitigate those risks, and then communication, where you can translate that information fairly easily to other business stakeholders in layman's terms. So with that, I'd like to pass it over to Jack to really talk about the data science and methodology work that's coming together to make this possible.
Thanks, Chris. So for those of you who aren't familiar with me, Jack Jones, been a CISO for 3 different companies and been focusing on this measuring risk problem for over 20 years now, and developed this FAIR model, which you may or may not have heard of. FAIR is essentially a model for measuring risk, either quantitatively or qualitatively, but of course we're focusing on quantitative. And I think the thing to understand is these models like FAIR underlie any risk measurement approach. And so any solution is going to have models. And they're the foundation because they dictate what data we use and how we use the data to generate results. So FAIR, again, for those of you who aren't already familiar with it, is one of these models. And it's now an industry standard. It's being used by thousands of professionals and organizations worldwide. So it has a lot of history and significant amount of trust behind it. Now go ahead and advance, Marnie. You may have heard of something called FAIR-MAM, or the controls analytics model for FAIR. And this describes how controls reduce risk. And like FAIR, it's also an open standard. And you can think of it as equivalent to, you can think of it as controls physiology, whereas existing control frameworks like NIST-CSF and whatnot are controls anatomy. And it's the two of those things combined that allow us to really understand and measure the efficacy of controls on risk. So, and FAIR-MAM enables us to do that with empirical data, which has been, frankly, incredibly challenging before. And then you combine that with strong data science and AI, and one of the outcomes is really expanding the types of actionable insights that the platform will be able to deliver, right? We'll be able to get into strategic questions, not just tactical questions. And then FAIR-MAM is this brand new materiality assessment model that's still in draft mode. We're still seeking feedback on it. Still a lot to evolve there in terms of documentation and guidance on usage and that sort of thing. But its purpose is to provide greater granularity in the analysis of how loss materializes, the forms loss takes, and that sort of thing, which provides clarity on sources of lost data. It provides ability to explain more clearly how we arrived at those numbers. It's also designed to align to insurance industry loss models, which I think will be increasingly important. And then related to the latest SEC ruling, FAIR-MAM can help organizations better define what their materiality thresholds are and determine more quickly and reliably if they've crossed that threshold and need to deal with reporting requirements as set forth by SEC. So the bottom line here is that the better your models are, the better your risk measurements and actionable insights will be. And we're integrating, frankly, the best models in the industry into the solution right now. Go ahead and advance. And so when you combine the threat intelligence, data and expertise that SAFE has always brought to the table, plus MITRE attack models and the control data, again, that SAFE has had for a long time through its integrations with security technologies and whatnot, plus FAIR-CAM, and the loss data that both SAFE and RiskLens is bringing to the table, combined with FAIR-MAM and data science and AI and FAIR, there's, I think, little doubt that this represents the strongest platform in the market. And because it's based on open standards, it, I think, clearly should be considered the most trusted out there. So with that, I will pass the baton to SB.
Yep, awesome. Thanks a lot, Jack. Marnie, if I can share my screen, if you don't mind. Yep, there we go. Thank you very much. There we go. Yeah. So let me start with a quick introduction. I'm Sakit Bajoria. They call me SB internally. Quick background. I come from RSA. I spent about 10 years there. Really worked on the security operations center side of things, SIEM, and really come from cyber background. But really built over 100+ integrations over there and all of that. Right now I could see that security is ultimately a risk problem, right? And when I used to speak to my friends at Archer, I really understood that it's really a risk problem, right? So that's when I joined SAFE and started building the product grounds up. So really excited about building the product here with automation at the heart of it, right? And now with RiskLens coming in, really we saw this as a golden opportunity for us to actually take a step back, like Chris was saying, to really see what customers want, right? What problem are we solving? So we are in this mission to build an insanely great product and an insanely great experience for CRQM, right? Now, to do this, we met with some of you guys, had the fortune to actually meet with some of you and really understood the business problem, right? So based on all of that, we clearly understand that risk management can be overwhelming, right? And the three mantras we use to really build this is simplicity, intuitive, and defensibility, right? We want to make sure it's as simple as you don't have to go through trainings, and it's really, really intuitive to understand and defendable in your organization and outside, right? Talking about simplicity, SAFE, as simple as we call it SAFE 1, as simple as the slide is of really what you have is we have inputs, automated and manual, and we give you 3 outputs, which is the likelihood of a risk to happen, what's the financial impact from it, and ultimately what actions can you take to reduce your likelihood or impact or both, right? That's really how simply we look at this, and at the core of that's what it is at the core of the product, right? Now there are some highlights and some sneak peeks I want to give you of what we're really building. So we call it SAFE 1, and there are 10+ highlights here. So I'll spend 30 seconds or so on each of these, right? Number 1, when you get SAFE, right, the first thing on day 0, you want to start getting value from day 0, right? So the first thing you will see is out-of-the-box risk scenarios, right? Based on your company geography, industry, and size, we will figure out what are the risk scenarios you should you should start off with, right? And you'll start seeing those risk scenarios here. We will also let you know about the known hacks in your industry that you should have full context of. At the same time, the threat groups that are potentially after your company, right? So we'll start you off with that on day 0, right? So that you can actually start using this, start seeing the dynamic values of likelihood of certain these events to happen and what's the financial risk from it, right? Now, this is not going to be enough, right? You will have your own risks and things to deal with, right? So that goes to the second point here of bring your own risk scenario, right? We are going to make it super intuitive. It's going to be like a 5-step process, starting off with what are you protecting, right? Where is it located? Who are you protecting this against from? What are the attacker behaviors these attackers might be using? And ultimately, once you build this, you will get a real-time view of these risk scenarios, right? That's what we call bring your own risk scenario. And you can get the visibility that you want the way you want it, right? Now, how are we going to do this, right? Ultimately, like I was saying earlier, there are 2 inputs. There is automation, then there is manual, right? Automation, essentially at the heart of it, we integrate with these different tools in your organization, like your AWS, Azure, GCP on the cloud side, vulnerability management like Qualys, Rapid7, Tenable. So we really connect with these tools in real time, and we pull these in telemetry in. On an average, we expect 5 to 10 million signals collected every single day, right, from your environment, right? We call it the risk cloud. Ultimately, it's about collecting all this data and connecting that to the risk scenarios we built earlier, right? So we have 50 plus integration out of the box right now. We have a backlog of 200 plus to go there, and we are continuously building that with a dedicated team, right? Now, automation is not going to be enough, right? There's always extra information that we need about certain business unit, about an application. So we have a module here called the questionnaire marketplace. This is where you can actually pull in the frameworks that you have already used in your environment, like a NIST CSF or a OWASP top 10, or whichever frameworks you have been using, right? And you can actually get points for that as well, right? So that when you speak in your organization, people are not pointing out that, hey, we've already got SOC 2 compliance here, and is that taken into account in your risk assessment or not, right? So we want to bring that to the table and ultimately build the model that Jack was talking about, right? Once we get all this data, ultimately, now you want to figure out where should I prioritize? What should I do to reduce my likelihood or financial risk, right? So for Risk Lens platform users, you guys are used to cost-benefit analysis, where you actually bring a benefit to the table and you figure out what's your ROI of doing that, right? Whether you should buy a product or not, whether you should increase the coverage of a product or not, whether you should fix certain vulnerabilities or not, what risks can you accept, right? All of that, we call it what if scenario, where you can actually look at your current risk and you can look at what if you fix these 5 things, what is the return you can expect over there, right? And this will empower you to have these conversations, asking for more budget to buy products or increasing the coverage, OPEX expenses, all of that, right? So what if scenario is something we are super excited about. Now, you will always be questioned about why should I trust this data, right? And where were we last quarter? Where were we last month, right? So you need to be enabled to answer those questions with data, right? So there is a section here called see what changed, right? So you can actually see for this risk scenario of losing PII data through ransomware on this business application, you can actually go back and see what changed from last quarter or last month or whatever, right? So you can really, and a lot of things can change there. Either something change in your environment or something change externally, right? So you can always have data in front of you to justify that, right? Now, ultimately, when all of this is going on, there are different personas in the company, right? There is a CISO's team, executives, business owners, and everybody wants to see the data differently, right? So what we are building here is a persona-based dashboard where you can basically build your own dashboard. You'll obviously have some default dashboards out there, but you can actually build your own dashboard to bring out the analytics and visibility that you would like to bring, right? Now, everything I talked about so far, right, that can be done at an enterprise level, the whole company. It can be done at a particular business unit level. It can be done at an application owner level as well, right? So that way, you can give the visibility to anybody in the stack there about what they should know about the top 5 risks out there or not, right? Now, ultimately, we are able to do all this. At the heart of it, what Jack was talking about, we are really, really excited about bringing FAIR to the overall automation that we have built in SAFE, right? As you can see, each of these models that we have, right? The loss event likelihood, loss magnitude, susceptibility is new word for vulnerability, threat event frequency, and all of these are really being automated so that you don't have to go and fill in each of these numbers. Now, you can always go override it, right? If you do not agree with the outputs, but obviously that'll reduce the confidence in the output, but it's about starting you off with minimal work, right? So that it's real time and it can keep spinning, right? So these models we have talked about, and this is the FAIR-MAM piece that Jack was talking about that FAIR Institute just released. So we are also going to be incorporating FAIR-MAM into the picture, right? Now, what I covered is just the high level of what we are building, right? There's a lot coming later this year. There are a lot of other features as well, right? So I would say we are not going to get all of this on day one, right? This is just setting the stage for what's coming next. You'll start seeing, starting later this year, you'll start seeing this coming in the product. And then please work with your CSM team. And I think Chad will talk more about this. So I'll pass the ball to Chad to talk about how this is all coming together. But yeah, thanks a lot for the time. And please ask questions. We are here and we can stay back on the call to take any questions there. Yep.
SB, do you want to bring up the final slides?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
Yep.
All right. So I will, first off, it's nice to virtually see and meet many of you. I'll go ahead and close this off. So I've just got a few points to wrap up this webinar. First and foremost, I want to let everybody know that this is the first of what will be multiple forms of education and events and various things we're going to host to help you get to understand SafeOne as it gets closer to market. Second, SB alluded to, when will SafeOne be available? It's going to be available starting later this year. Obviously, more things are going to be added in a very rapid fashion. What it means for all of you customers is you want to work with your CS representative, view them as a concierge, if you will, that is going to continue to feed you plans and updates and ultimately work with you on the timing of when you may transition to this new platform based on what your program is doing and make recommendations and work with you on that. Lastly, I wanted to talk about 2 quick points. One of the other benefits of Rislan's coming over and joining the Safe family here was bringing an advisory team of really experienced and exceptional CRQ experts and consultants that can help you successfully integrate and build a program with Safe as the foundational platform for that. So really talk about, the people and the process side and how to build this successfully, something that we have a lot of experience we've been doing over the last 10 years. And then lastly, as a star at the bottom alludes to, we have FAIR-Con coming up, a big annual conference in October that's going to be in DC. It's an amazing opportunity to meet all of us, but all of the customers like you that are on that CRQM journey and get to know one another and spend time together. Plus, there is a special Safe Customer Day at the tail end of that with some really great activities and agendas and events tied to that as well. So hopefully we'll get to see many of you there. And with that, we will move on to Q&A.
Thank you so much, Chad. And what an incredible quick overview. I hope everyone was able to get a lot of their questions answered. We are recording this. I forgot to mention that in the beginning. So if you do want to refer back to some of these slides, you want to share this with others within your organization, I'll send that out to you a few days after this session. But we have a few minutes left for some Q&A. If you think of another question later, just let us know. We realize that we used up most of this 30 minutes, but we're able to stay on another about 10 minutes or so after if your schedules permit. Otherwise, thank you so very much to all of you who came and attended and stayed for this. You can tell there's a lot of excitement within our organization around what we're doing and how we're really wanting to serve you and bring you more value through this partnership here.